sugar, sugar. Oh, darling, darling, darling. Honeybee bop is on my mind. Honeybee bop, I like that style. Honeybee bop, that sweet, sweet smile. Honeybee bop, look in the eye. Honeybee bop, rock and roll style. Honeybee bop, sweetest every time. Honeybee bop, I like that style. Honeybee bop, that sweet, sweet smile. Honeybee bop, look in the eye. Honeybee bop, rock and roll style. Honeybee bop, sweetest every time.
Hey mead crafters, this is Jess, just here to kick off our super seasonal mead challenge with a dandelion mead today. This is going to be a lemon and black tea and dandelion mead, so we're going to call it our Arnold Palmer dandelion tea. That's going to be going up on meadcrafter.com as a recipe. I'm going to be making that for you in a little bit, but I wanted to also let you know that this is the first in a series of vlogs called the Super Seasonal Mead Challenge. And we're going to be making every week or two just a mead with something seasonal that I can dig up at the farmer's market or at the organic grocery store, or even in the case of this mead today, dandelion mead from Dandelion's foraged from a walk that I have done with my daughter. We made extra sure that we weren't getting dandelions from spots where dogs normally use the area. You know, and just a space that the dandelions were super new, like we knew they weren't there the day before. They were super, super fresh and excited to do that. The thing that you're not going to see in this video is all the time it took to get all the petals away from the stems from dandelions. So that's something you're going to have to prepare to do. You're going to need a lot. We had like a grocery bag, maybe a quarter of the way full of dandelions, and just sat here one night kind of listening to music and pulling all the petals out of the dandelions. So be prepared to spend a little time doing that in preparation for your mead making. And so let me know if you have other ideas. Let's talk about, you know, ways that I could have done this mead a little better, other ways you would have done it differently. This is all about learning and growing and being a community of mead makers. So without further ado, let's make some dandelion mead. This water is just heating up. It's just boiling. It was very close to boiling before I started the video, and I'm gonna let it heat up a little bit more because I'm gonna steal some out of here and put it in for my my dandelion tea. What I'm probably also going to do is add the honey into this and see how that goes, because I've never put honey into warm water. I'm sure it's going to dissolve it nicely, but I don't know if it's going to affect the flavor. What else goes in here is some raisins. The recipes that I found call for golden raisins, but the reason raisins are golden is because they've been treated with sulfites, specifically sulfur dioxide. So I believe that's it. I'll correct myself later if that's not correct. And we try to avoid sulfites in our mead because my husband, we think he might have a sulfite allergy. So we're trying to stay away from that, and we've been successful so far, besides just what naturally occurs. And these raisins are not golden, but they're lighter. I believe they're called sultana, but that could be wrong too. Got them at the health food store. They're organic. And what else goes in this is the juice of one lemon plus the zest of the lemon too. So I have some organic lemons I picked up at the health store, and those are going to go in there too. Normally I've been using Costco honey because it's pretty cheap. It's like $20 for a huge thing of it. It looks like this. Couple of these, I think 2.5 of these are enough for a 5-gallon. This was mostly because I was learning and I didn't want to spend a bunch of money buying raw honey and wasting it if I was gonna ruin a batch. I know that even if you're experienced, you might ruin a batch, but for me, I wanted to learn on this honey and then add the nicer honey. Graduating up to today, we're gonna use this. I just got it at the grocery store, but it's raw honey. It's local to where I am, and we'll see how this compares in the process and also in the flavor to the other mead or the other honey. So this is coming back up to almost boiling. You see a couple of bubbles. I'm probably going to pull out the water that I need for the tea at this point. There it is. So you're supposed to use a quart. I think this is probably larger than a quart, but this is what I'm going to end up using. And I'm going to put this in the fridge overnight with the lid on with the dandelions in it to make the dandelion tea. So I'm going to use my funnel, get some hot water in here, and we're going to make our tea. Another recipe I found that's not this one, pour this out. I'm just spilling it all over the sofa. Another recipe I found included black tea, so I might toss a couple of tea bags in. Maybe I'll toss it in with the dandelions, because I do like black tea in the mead. So the recipe I found, one of the recipes I found called for 1.5 pints of dandelions. What you have to do to get the dandelion petals is you have to pick them, and then you have to pluck out just the yellow part. You don't want the green part in your mead because it's really bitter. So that's the part that takes forever on this recipe. You're sitting there for hours and hours plucking these things. This is not very much. Some recipes call for 6 cups of this just for a gallon. So this is what I'm putting in. It's about, when it was fluffier, it was about 1.5 pints. So I'm going to add that and see how it goes. And if it's not flavorful enough at the point when when we taste the mead, maybe next time I'll add some more. But for this time, it's 1.5 pints dandelion petals, just the petals. You can use the greens for salad or to cook with, but they're bitter, so you would use them in something that could use some bitterness. For us, we don't want our meat to be bitter, so we're not going to use it for our meat. So in go the dandelions. I'm going to put in a couple of tea bags as well, just for good measure since I'm making tea anyway. We'll let these steep together. And then tomorrow, because this is steeping overnight, tomorrow this will go into our must along with the yeast. The only yeast I'm able to get locally at my brew store for some reason is champagne yeast. They don't carry sweet yeast. So I'm still working on getting myself some sweet yeast, which would be better for this. But tomorrow I'm going to pitch some champagne yeast in with everything. There goes my tea. Probably can't see that. This is what it looks like. A dandelion tea. I smell the black tea right away. But I'm also getting some earthy, obviously kind of grassy flower aroma as well. It's really nice. It's going to be nice. It's going to be interesting. I really like floral flavors. I like floral flavored chocolate, for instance, so I'm expecting that I'm going to like this a lot, but I know that floral flavors in food is something that is acquired. It's acquired taste. So we're going to put the lid on this and put it in the fridge overnight, and we'll show you that tomorrow. We'll put it all together tomorrow, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and get my honey into this warm water, get the warm water into my carboy. Let that chill out overnight. This is going to take a little bit of time to get into this pot, so we'll probably cut to when it's all in the pot. I have 3 jars of raw honey, and this is about 3 pounds. So that's what you'll need, is just 3 pounds of whatever honey you like. Wildflower honey obviously is going to work really well for a flowering mead. Orange blossom honey I saw in a couple of recipes too that I looked up. So whatever your favorite honey is that you think would complement floral flavors is what you're going to want for this. So I'll come back to you when I get the honey, once I have the honey in the pot here. Alright guys, so I'm back, and we've got our honey in here. And you may have seen, or you may not have, but I discovered part of the way through trying to get the raw unfiltered, unpasteurized honey out of the dryers that, you know, it's pretty thick. So I microwaved it, and then I discovered that if I added some hot water to the jar after I'd gotten some out, that was way easier to get the honey out, especially at the bottom of the jar. So there's a little bit left in this one. Just gonna fill it up with a little bit of water. Maybe let it sit in there for a second, and I'm gonna shake it up. I don't want to waste any honey because the bees work really hard for every drop of honey. So we want to make sure their contribution is recognized. The other thing I forgot to mention earlier is that this is spring water that I bought at the grocery store in this pan. So I don't like to, my city water is kind of like pretty full of stuff. It turns all my dishes white if I don't use the right soap. It's really hard water, so I don't like that stuff going in my mead. Even with a filter, my water filter is pretty. It gets a little bit, you know, like even the water filter doesn't filter it all the way. So I really like to play it safe and get my water at the grocery store. I wanted to play something else, but I don't remember. Now, I'm not an expert, as you can tell. I haven't been doing this for years and years, but I've been doing a lot of reading, doing a lot of emailing with people asking for advice, and I am just kind of on a mead journey right now, and so hopefully you guys are too, and hopefully, you know, you will learn from my mistakes, and you'll give me advice as we go, and you'll get some ideas about what works and what doesn't work. You'll get some ideas about different techniques, and we're all just kind of a community figuring things out here. So I've just put in my lemon juice and lemon zest into the must. Normally, like I said earlier, I wouldn't have warmed up my must, but I wanted to try it this time. It was a good choice for the raw honey. I guess just ease-wise, it probably saved me a lot of time from getting the honey into the carboy, but I started out not doing that, and I would advocate, I read this a couple times, this Make Mead Like a Viking by Jeremy Zimmerman. I use this a lot, and I refer to it a lot, especially when I want to do a wild ferment, because I usually start a wild ferment with a ginger bug, and that's where I learned how to make a ginger bug, and so we're going to do that a different time in a different video, but this one is not that. This one's going to be the champagne yeast. So here's the must. I've already got my raisins in there. You want about a cup of raisins. This is probably a little under a cup. And you want to make sure everything is super sanitized, even your funnel, even the pot that you use, anything the mead must is going to touch, you want it to be really clean and sanitized. You want to even rinse your raisins off. If you were doing a wild ferment, you wouldn't want to rinse your raisins off. You want the yeast on the raisins, but make sure everything's organic, so there's nothing that's gonna interfere with your yeast, basically. You don't want any of that stuff. So this must is gonna go into this carboy. Hopefully it goes peacefully. We'll see what happens. Hopefully I can pour this without making a giant mess, but if I make a giant mess, maybe I'll figure it out. Yeah, it's about to drip. I think I can probably do like this guy. Oh, there's still some raisins stuck in here. Get some raisins stuck in the funnel. There we go. I'm gonna do this over the counter rather than over the burner, so there's not honey stuck in my burner. Hopefully you can still see that. And that's all gonna go into my carboy. It's gonna sit overnight, cool off, and then the yeast will go in tomorrow. All right, we're back today to finish up making our mead. This is what it looks like after overnight. It just stayed like that on the counter. Here's our tea. Remember, it's black tea bags, 3 black tea bags, and my Dandelion petals. Can't find my strainer, so I'm just going to use this pitcher, which has this little, I'm just going to put it through there when I pour it. This has all been sanitized just to make sure. Alrighty. I've activated my yeast about 20 minutes ago. It's bubbling up really nicely, so it's ready to go. In the past, I've had yeast go longer than half an hour without bubbling, and I pitched it anyway, and the mead didn't turn out. So I would definitely make sure the yeast you're using is active and going before you put it in, otherwise you don't want to ruin your batch. So here's dandelion tea. Just gonna put that on my, let's see if we can get this. Pour it in there and strain through. I don't really mind if there's pieces. See it having a little bit of a tough time getting through the funnel there. We're almost done. That did pretty nicely for holding back the petals. Anything that ended up making it in there is totally fine because we're going to rack it in, I don't know, 2 weeks maybe? Depends on how it's doing. And that'll clear out any residual chunks of things that got put in there. I'm going to add in a little bit of my spring water just to kind of top it off. I keep this room temperature. And I fill it up to where the neck's just gonna start curving upwards more narrowly, just to give it some room. There we are. Oh, we need to put the yeast on. Important part. Almost forgot the most important part. I'm also gonna give this some yeast nutrient. Shake it up really well, and then that's it. So here we are. This is the next day after I finished making my mead, and as you can see, it is very happy and bubbling, and yep, it's going. It's gonna make it. So just a couple things to add to the end of the video that I forgot to mention. I have my airlock on, as you can see here. Make sure you put the airlock on, but I did not put the airlock on right away because I wanted the yeast to have a little bit of good old oxygen. So I left my mead for an hour or two while I went and did some errands and stuff and came back, and then I put my airlock on. I just left it open. So perhaps that's risky. Let me know what you think about that. And also you want to take a hydrometer reading the day that you make it so that you're able to accurately discern the alcohol at the end, should you be interested in such things. I didn't, I'm a bad one, but I'll probably take one today because it's not too late, so I'll take one today. The other thing is that I'm going to write this recipe down while it's fresh in my memory because I kind of improvised some things in my mead journal, so you're going to want to do that too. Those are all just kind of reminders. I know that a lot of you guys who are pros know these things, but I just wanted to remind people who are just learning to keep a journal, make sure you put your airlock on, and that your yeast does need a little bit of oxygen. So I did shake it too. I shook it afterwards. You didn't see that part. For missing out, I guess maybe I should shake it for you next time. But okay, so happy mead crafting. Let us know if you try this recipe. Let us know if you have a different dandelion recipe you like better, and hope to hear from you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.